I often wonder if we have lost our ability to learn from history. History is, among other things, the greatest teacher that we could possibly have if we would just learn the lessons that the teacher of history is trying to teach. And yet, so often as we go through our lives, we come to events and moments of crisis like the one that we're in right now, and we act as though, because I think sometimes we believe, that this is the first time that humanity has ever gone through anything quite like this. Given the coronavirus and the pandemic that our globe is struggling under right now, we've been forced into a situation where Republicans and Democrats, where those on the left and those on the right are fighting about the best way to deal with what is a real health crisis. Now, however you would define that and whatever you believe about the nature of this health crisis, there is no denying that people around the world have been impacted by this virus. We know that to be true. The real question at hand is, how exactly do we deal with it? And even as we come through several weeks and a few months now into trying to deal with this, we see people with different ideologies, different political perspectives, trying to deal with it in a different way. Some would say, shut the country down and we'll figure out the economy on the other side. There are those who would say the economy is the only thing that matters, and then there are some in the middle. We need to deal with both sides of this, the economic issues as well as the health issues. As we look at all of this and we consider the steps that so many have taken, some very authoritarian and some kind of stepping back just to watch and see what will happen, it can feel like, and we feel like, I know that I do sometimes, that we're coming to a moment of crisis, a moment where the individual liberties that we enjoy are being trampled on by those who would seek to impose themselves and hang on to and gain power because of a crisis that's happening in our world. But again, I want to go back to this. I think so often we've lost our ability to learn from history. There are so many lessons that we could learn from the past as we consider this moment of crisis that we're in right now, not just the health crisis or the economic crisis, but the political crisis. But none quite as instructive as that of the founding of these United States. A group of people left primarily England and other places in Europe, of course, but primarily England, and came to colonize for England the United States. They came for a number of reasons, some for religious liberties, some because they wanted land, they wanted property, others in pursuit of treasure. A lot of reasons, a lot of things brought people to this country. But in all of it, there was not the need or the desire to start their own country. But families came and others were added and these colonies grew. Eventually, what happened was something that we see in microcosm right now. There were those who were in authority that instead of ruling with the best interests of those that they ruled in mind, began in a tyrannical way to impose things on their citizens that the citizens could no longer bear. This, as you know, if you've learned history at all, led to what we call the American Revolutionary War, the American Revolution. Out of that revolution, an actual war with guns, came perhaps the greatest document outside of the Bible that has ever been produced, the Constitution of the United States. We could spend a lot of time talking about how we could conclude that it is the greatest document that's ever been penned, but we know that countries throughout time over the last few hundred years have tried to duplicate what we have in our Constitution. It is a Constitution that has endured not only the Revolution and coming out of the Revolution, but wars after that to include a civil war. It has guided decisions. It has guided civilizations. It's allowed us to grow in a way that allows us to have the most interconnected, productive society that still enjoys individual liberty that has ever existed on this planet. What's interesting then, as we come to a moment of crisis in our own day, is that we have forgotten that we have a constitution. that guides how the interconnected elements of our government will treat one another and work with one another, how left and right can come to conclusions. We worry that the only solution is a complete meltdown and rebuilding of what we have as society. But the Constitution has been able to bear the weight of human interests and ideas and ideals and passions for a few hundred years. We have the Bill of Rights that expounds for us what our rights as citizens are. Most countries, they illustrate in writing through their constitutions and their founding documents the things that their citizens cannot do. Our Bill of Rights and our Constitution illustrate what we can do, the liberties we are guaranteed by our government. And so, as we do our best to learn from history, we can look at what appears to be a crisis developing in our country. And although people will act in their own selfish best interest to include those who are supposed to govern on behalf of the governed, we know that we have the foundation of a constitution that was born out of a revolution that was designed to protect the individual liberties of the citizens who live in this country. I'm confident as I look forward, and you should be as well, because we can look back to history and understand that we don't have to figure this out for the first time, that we have indeed been this way before, and that it's okay. Because some people back there learned the lessons of their own history, recorded those for us in our founding documents, and have given us a foundation on which a very fragile civilization can continue to grow and thrive. Learn the lessons from history. Read and understand your founding documents, and have confidence in the fact that we will grow through this and be better on the other side.